Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, KAER MORHEN. Hot steam rose from the tub, enveloping Geralt like a soft blanket that soothed the ache and tension in his weary muscles. The Witcher sank deeper into the water, stretching his legs over the edge of the wooden basin. His head rested against the sturdy oak rim as he closed his eyes, letting the warmth seep into every fiber of his body. In the flickering candlelight from a small table nearby, the stone walls of KAER MORHEN seemed to glow with a golden hue, softening the harshness of the mountain stronghold. Silence filled the chamber, interrupted only by the occasional crackle of flames in the wide stone hearth. A faint chill seeped through the carved wooden screen that separated the tub from the balcony doors, a quiet reminder of the unforgiving climate surrounding the ancient fortress. Geralt lay motionless in the hot water, lost in blissful quiet, oblivious to the subtle movement that disturbed the still surface near his feet. A small dark scorpion climbed over the rim of the tub, undeterred by the rising steam. With the unhurried grace of a creature unaware of danger, it slid over the edge and submerged into the water, heading straight for Geralt. The Witcher, completely naked, felt only a faint ripple of the water, while his moment of tranquil relaxation seemed endless. Suddenly, a sharp, piercing pain jolted him as the scorpion's pincers bit into his most sensitive region. Geralt's yellow cat-like pupils widened in shock, his face darkening with irritation. He shot up from the water, clenching the fists that had rested idly on the rim of the tub. In an instinctive reaction, he almost swatted the creature away, but stopped at the last moment, instead gripping it firmly to examine it closely. With deliberate calm, rather than discarding it outright, he flung the tiny intruder toward Yennefer, who sat nearby, naked except for a towel twisted into an elegant turban atop her hair. Her slender figure glistened in the soft light, her golden-hued skin radiating an effortless elegance. Yennefer held a book in one hand, her long fingers lightly turning its pages, momentarily lost in her reading. She watched Geralt through half-closed eyes, a faint smile playing on her lips, as if fully aware of his reaction to such unexpected events. Her intense violet eyes sparkled with amusement, and the fine lines at the corners of her mouth betrayed the joy she took in the moment.
You know I don't find that amusing,
Geralt muttered irritably, watching as the scorpion landed on the floor near the candle holder. The creature shimmered briefly with white light before vanishing, leaving behind only a faint, glowing trace. Yennefer sat in an ornately carved chair near the bed, her legs casually resting on a cushioned stool. Her presence radiated elegance and a detached composure. Without lifting her gaze from the book, she replied coolly,
"It wasn't meant to amuse, but to prod you to hurry.
Her tone brooked no argument.
It's midday already."
Geralt shrugged and sighed, sinking back into the hot water, yearning to retreat from her words. He tilted his head back, closing his eyes again, seeking the warmth's embrace one last time. But he had no illusions. Yennefer wasn't about to let him off easily.
"You promised Ciri you'd train with her,"
she reminded, her eyes still fixed on the book, as if the matter were entirely self-evident. Geralt let out a resigned, resting his head against the tub's edge, as though hoping to extend his reprieve for just a moment longer. However, Yennefer's next words shattered his reluctant silence.
"Go before Vesemir bores her to death with those etchings,"
she added, her voice laced with dry sarcasm. With a heavy sigh, the Witcher slowly rose from the tub. Water cascaded down his shoulders, glinting in the dim light. With a sweeping motion, he braced himself against the rim, splashing water onto the floor as he stood. Fully exposed, he stepped out of the tub, his scarred, muscular frame gleaming in the muted glow of the candle. He swiftly reached for his trousers, pulling them on in one practiced, fluid motion. Crossing the room, he stopped next to Yennefer. Though her gaze remained on the book, he lingered, waiting for a glance, a word, anything that might keep him there a moment longer.
So, later then,
he muttered, feigning nonchalance, though his tone carried a hint of something more. Yennefer didn't look up.
"See you later,"
she replied indifferently, her voice void of emotion, as if the words held no weight. Geralt studied her for a moment, hoping to glimpse some hidden warmth behind her composed demeanor. As he turned to leave, a sudden, gentle touch on his wrist stopped him. Leaning down, he met her halfway as Yennefer pulled him close, pressing a brief yet intense kiss to his lips. With a faint smile, she pushed him away lightly. Geralt, a satisfied gleam in his eyes, cast her one last fleeting glance, letting his gaze linger on her slender figure, barely draped in the towel. As he left, Yennefer, still engrossed in her book, cast a furtive glance in his direction before returning to her reading. The Witcher shrugged into a simple white shirt, its fabric shifting lightly with his movements. Around his neck hung the medallion of the School of the Wolf, gently swaying with each step. From his belt, a hunting knife peeked out of its leather sheath. Pausing briefly, Geralt took in the sight of Yennefer, who had moved to the table by the bed. A tall candlestick stood on the edge of the table, its single flame warming Yennefer's bare skin. To her left, a mirror reflected her fleeting glance as she pulled the towel from her head. The cloth fell to the floor, revealing her long, raven-black hair, slightly wavy and cascading down her shoulders. On the bed beside her lay an array of neatly arranged black and white garments, each piece meticulously placed as if part of an unspoken ritual. With fluid grace, Yennefer slipped on her bra, her movements deliberate and elegant, as if even this simple act was part of a refined routine. She reached for her obsidian star necklace, gently placing it around her neck where it rested with quiet dignity. Geralt watched her silently, a faint smile playing on his lips. The flickering candlelight danced in her violet eyes, and after a moment of contemplative silence, he spoke.
Got any clothes that aren't black or white?
He asked, a curious edge to his tone.
Undergarments.
She replied with a smirk, not bothering to lift her gaze from her belongings. Geralt shook his head in mock disbelief, while Yennefer shrugged, as though her monochromatic palette was the most natural thing in the world. Geralt's eyes drifted to the table positioned near the fireplace, where the warm glow illuminated the room's stone walls. The table stood before the balcony doors, offering a view of the rugged mountain landscape. On its surface sat an empty carafe.
You're running out of juice,
he remarked casually. Yennefer didn't even glance at him, her focus entirely on combing through the dark waves of her hair. Her slender fingers moved gracefully through the strands as she sat in her underwear, utterly unbothered and absorbed in her task.
I know.
She replied with a faint smile, her lips curving ever so slightly.
You might bring me some more once you're done training.
Geralt shrugged and made his way to the balcony, stepping through the large open doors. He paused on the threshold, taking a deep breath of the crisp mountain air before leaning against the railing to take in the view.
Shit. Mountain Pass as beautiful as ever,
he muttered to himself. And he wasn't wrong. Before him stretched a breathtaking panorama with the ruined tower standing prominently in the center. Above, the majestic peaks were draped in snowy caps, as if nature sought to cloak this corner of the world in an icy shroud. To the right in the distance, the outline of the bastion emerged faintly through the dense mist. Geralt's gaze swept across the castle courtyard below, where faint traces of recent combat marred the gray stones. To the left of the ruined tower, directly opposite the balcony, wild lands unfolded, blanketed in dense forests, where every tree seemed a witness to the stronghold's faded glory. Between the towering peaks flowed the Gwenlech River, known as the Whitestones River. Its crystalline waters cut through Cadwyn's rugged terrain, winding through the valley to the Witcher's haven of KAER. Re-entering the room, Geralt glanced to his left, where a door led to the tower's spiraling staircase. Remembering the key, he approached the table near the entrance. An open book rested there, with a key lying atop its pages, waiting to be used. Geralt picked it up, the cool metal jingling softly in his hand. The familiar scent of lilac and gooseberries filled the air, wafting from a bottle of perfume on a nearby table. For a moment he paused, lost in thought, before murmuring with a hint of nostalgia.
Lilac and gooseberries, of course.
Yennefer immediately responded, her tone edged with mild annoyance.
Geralt, stop fingering my toiletries.
With a shrug, Geralt headed for the door, unlocked it, and descended the tower's spiral staircase. Each step brought him deeper into the shadows, where the air grew cooler, displacing the warmth of the chamber above. Gradually, a faint sound reached his ears, the muffled noise of snoring, growing louder with every step. Rounding a corner, Geralt found a familiar sight. Vesemir sat slumped in a sturdy wooden chair that creaked under his weight. The old Witcher had fallen into a deep sleep, his body leaning to one side, an arm dangling limply to the floor. Nearby, a candle's dwindling flame flickered over a messy stack of books piled to his right. Geralt raised an eyebrow and muttered dryly,
Old Witcher's fast asleep. Ciri's disappeared somewhere, of course.
Without haste, he approached the balcony that overlooked KAER Morhen's vast courtyard, framed by the dark outlines of the surrounding mountains. Turning his gaze to the left, he spotted the training dummies near the tower. There, bathed in the full light of the sun, was Ciri. Her movements were sharp and precise, her determination unwavering as she practiced with focused intensity. She darted and spun around, obstacles with effortless grace, moving like a true master. A small smile crossed Geralt's face as he watched her.
Guess she prefers practice to theory,
he said warmly, pride gleaming in his amber eyes as he observed her relentless effort. Geralt's words roused Vesemir from his slumber. The Elder Witcher opened his eyes, muttering groggily.
What?
Straightening himself in the chair, he rubbed his tired face with one hand. Geralt watched him with amusement, a small smirk tugging at the corners of his lips.
Time to wake up, Master.
Vesemir sat up fully, bracing one hand on his knee while the other rubbed his face, trying to shake off the remnants of sleep. Geralt, never missing a chance, gave him a teasing look.
These lessons so boring they put you to sleep too?
Geralt's grin remained as Vesemir slowly awakened.
Damn it.
Vesemir sighed, rubbing his eyes.
After taking notes on ghouls and owl-ghouls, wanted to rest my eyes a bit.
Making her slog through that brick? No wonder she took off.
Vesemir chuckled softly as he stood, shaking his head.
John of Bruges lacks flair, true, but he's reliable. Not like the hogwash they print nowadays.
And Geralt leaned against the stone parapet of the balcony, arms crossed, letting the cool air wash over his face. Vesemir stepped closer, glancing toward the pendulums in the distance.
She's tackling the pendulums, right?
He asked with a sigh before moving to the edge of the balcony to confirm for himself. Geralt turned his gaze to Vesemir, who stood beside him. Despite his years, the Elder Witcher still radiated strength and confidence. Vesemir observed Ciri, who was leaping across the pendulums with remarkable precision and youthful determination. After a moment, he sighed and muttered, almost to himself,
How many times do I have to tell her? Don't train alone, it only embeds your errors.
With a firm tone, he ordered,
Bring our young damsel to the lower courtyard. She wants to practice, she'll get to practice.
Don't get mad at her.
Geralt replied calmly, trying to temper the Older Witcher's frustration. Vesemir let out a deep sigh, his face etched with disappointment. The look he gave Geralt was tinged with irritation.
Why the hell not? The whippersnapper refuses to do as she's told.
You like that about her.
Vesemir looked at Geralt, his expression initially stern, but it soon softened into a faint, reluctant smile.
Fine. I suppose I'm partly to blame.
He admitted grudgingly.
But this has to end. Now.
Geralt straightened up, lowering his arms from the balcony. Vesemir kept his eyes on the pendulums, while Geralt turned to watch the young trainee as well. Ciri's determined movements against the unyielding obstacles brought a hint of pride to his face.
Killing monsters is not something to be taken lightly.
Vesemir said gravely, his voice heavy with concern.
Ciri must understand that, if she's to become one of us. I'll see you below.
Geralt nodded before turning and heading down the staircase toward the courtyard.